Good day, everyone. I am Karen Jean Layan, your reporter for today, together with Jania Cabaluna and Hani Lumpayaw. But before we proceed to our formal discussion, let's have an activity first. Directions. Determine if the argument is based on sound logic and evidence, or true notion, or if it contains a logical fallacy, misjudgment. Write TN if it is a true notion, and M if it is a misjudgment. Hit the like button and comment down below with your answer for us to know you've watched this video. Number 1. You didn't even finish high school. How could you possibly know about this? Number 2. Why should we listen to you about building a park? You've only lived in this city for 2 years, and everyone knows you're just trying to make your property go up. Number 3. You have to hire me. I've been unemployed for months, and my family is struggling financially. I need this job desperately. Your Honor, you can't convict me of theft. I only stole the food because my children were starving and we had no other way to survive. Number 5. We should all follow this new diet because Dr. Smith, a well-known heart surgeon, recommends it. Number 6. I am filing for reconsideration of the offenses complained about. Since I am a well-known athlete, I can make your university great again. For the last, number 7, I present to you the data showing that more students use the library daily. I suggest we should allocate the funds evenly across various clubs and library, ensuring all students benefit from the fundraiser. I guess that you are all done answering. Let's see if you got the correct answer. Our topic for today is all about reason and impartiality as a minimum requirements for morality. But before that, let's have our intended learning outcomes. At the end of the lesson, the student should be able to: first, define reason and impartiality as minimum requirements for morality. B. Apply the 7-step moral reasoning model and the value clarification process. So this will be the coverage of our discussion. First, define what is reason and impartiality as minimum requirements for morality. The 7 Steps Moral Reasoning Model by Scott Ray. What series of questions does values clarification method as a part of the moral reasoning? And the characteristics of what Father Gorospe termed as creative responsibility. So, what is morality? Morality is the effort to guide one's conduct by reason. Reason refers to the ability to think logically, ability to analyze information, and ability to make rational judgments. Impartiality refers to a principle of justice, treating all people and their interests equally, without bias and favoritism. Reason and impartiality refers to a mental activity following the basic principle of consistency, the lack of contradiction between one idea and another. Let's have a scenario of a school fundraiser on how reason and impartiality serve as a minimum requirements for making moral decisions. In a situation, the student council meets to decide how to distribute the 5,000 raised. So among these three, Kathy's proposal shows impartiality, which says allocate the funds evenly across various clubs and the library, ensuring all students benefit from the fundraiser. To apply reason, you need to have critical evaluation. As Cathy suggests, they analyze the potential benefits of each proposal and should provide the most significant benefit to the student body. To apply impartiality, you need to have a fair consideration and equal distribution. Cathy emphasizes that the decision should not favor any particular group of students. It reflects impartiality by suggesting an even distribution of funds. This way, every group within the school gets a fair share. So, by applying reason and impartiality, the student council will agree that distributing the funds evenly across various clubs and the library is the most ethical decision. Reason and impartiality avoid the three types of logical fallacies. One of these is ad hominem. The term ad hominem is a Latin phrase meaning to the person. In the context of logical fallacies and argumentation, an ad hominem attack occurs when someone attacks the character, motive, or other attributes of the person making an argument rather than addressing the substance of the argument itself. For example, this argument: why should we listen to you about building a park? You've only lived in this city for 2 years, and everyone knows you're just trying to make your property value go up. So, in the reason and impartiality, it involves ad hominem by not attacking the personality of opponent and instead directing one's argument against his idea to maintain rational and respectful discussions. So the second one is ad misericordiam, also known as appeal to pity. It is a logical fallacy where an argument seeks to elicit pity or sympathy from the audience to gain acceptance or support, rather than providing relevant evidence or logical reasoning. For example, argument: you have to hire me. I've been unemployed for months, and my family is struggling financially. I need this job desperately. And the third one is ad vericordiam, also known as appeal to authority. It is a logical fallacy where an argument relies on the opinion or authority of an individual or institution as evidence for its validity, instead of presenting substantive evidence or logical reasoning. For example, in this argument, we should all follow this new diet because Dr. Smith, a well-known heart surgeon, recommends it. If we're going to analyze this argument, someone is relying on Dr. Smith's authority as a heart surgeon to endorse a diet plan. The logical flaw here is, even though Dr. Smith is expert in heart surgery, doesn't automatically mean makes him an authority on nutrition. We need to encourage evaluation on the evidence and logical reasoning behind claims, rather than accepting them based on authority alone. In other words, good reasons include consistent and coherent reasons. Coherent reasoning is essential for establishing the truth and meaningfulness of moral judgments because it ensures that our conclusions are logically consistent, well supported by evidence, and comprehensible to others. Morality requires impartial consideration of each individual's interest. Impartial consideration in morality means that when making moral judgments or decisions, one must treat everyone's interest equally because it ensures fairness, justice, and respect for all persons. So, these 7 steps of Scott Ray's moral reasoning is another sample method of arriving at an ethical or moral decision. First is gather the facts information. It is the simplest way of clarifying an ethical dilemma to make sure the facts are clear. It asks, how do you have all the facts that are necessary to make a good decision? What do we know and what do we need to know? It simply refers to what you have at hand in your succeeding actions. The second one is determine the ethical issues, similar to statement of the problem. Identify the moral questions and dilemmas present in situation. Clarify what ethical principles or values are in conflict, or it simply refers to what issues that may cause harm to an individual. Third is to determine what virtues, principles have a bearing on the case, similar to identifying the relevant factors, internal and external. In an ethical dilemma, certain values and principles are central to the competing positions. As what the source for the principle is constitution, culture, natural law, and religious tradition are relevant to the situation. Or, it simply refers to the ethical discourses, sub-discourses, applied ethics, and etc. The fourth one is list the alternatives or develop a list of options. Creatively determine possible courses of action for your dilemma. The more you list, the greater potential for coming up with a really good one. And also, the fifth one is compare the alternatives with the virtues or principles. Or it simply refers to weighing the alternatives against the principles we hold.
For step number 6, you have to consider the consequences or test the options. So, you have to think. If you already have the options, then you have to think of its consequences. For example, you caught your colleague doing an unethical behavior. Then you come up with two alternatives. It is to report the colleague or do not report the colleague. So the first alternative is to report the colleague. And the positive consequences of reporting that colleague is that it upholds your principles of honesty and integrity. While the negative consequences is that it could damage that colleague's career and reputation if the suspicion is wrong. So next we have the alternative number 2, which is do not report the colleague. So the positive consequences of not reporting that colleague is that it will maintain a good working relationship with that person. But the negative consequences is that it allows his unethical behavior to continue that will lead to a greater harm. So those are just some of the consequences when you are going to consider a solution. So you have to evaluate the potential outcomes of each alternative. Consider both short-term and long-term consequences as well as what will be its impact on the stakeholders. So these are the following types of tests that can be used to test the options. First, we have harm test. Example is, does this option do less harm than the alternatives? Next, we have publicity test. Would I want my choice of this option published in the newspaper? The third one is defensibility test. Could I defend my choice of this option before the congressional committee or committee of peers? The fourth one is reversibility test. Would I still think this option was good choice if I were adversely affected by it? Fifth is colleague test. What do my colleagues say when I describe my problem and suggest this option as my solution? We have professional test. What might my profession's governing body for ethics say about these options? And the last one is organization test. What does my company's ethics officer or legal counsel say about this? The last step of this moral reasoning is to make a decision. So based on the analysis from the previous steps, make a well-informed and ethically justified decision. Ensure that the decision aligns as closely as possible with ethical principles and values, and be prepared to take responsibility for the decision and its outcomes. After carefully weighing the consequences of each alternative, the decision should be made based on which action aligns most closely with the ethical principles, such as honesty, integrity, and justice, and considering the potential impacts on all stakeholders. For example, your decision is to report the colleague, and that decision aligns with the principles of honesty and integrity, which are important in maintaining ethical standards. So aside from that, you will also protect the company and other employees from potential harm. Now we have values clarification. Moral reasoning either arrives at what is right or wrong, good or bad, or valuable or not valuable. The moral reasoning process may thus follow a model called values clarification. So values clarification is a method as a part of the moral reasoning model consists of a series of questions which one may ask himself or others in order to arrive at one's true values, values that he really possesses and acts upon. So right after this values clarification, you will eventually have to choose which one you would consider or which one is the probable solution to that moral dilemma that you are facing. The following consist of steps of values clarification model. Step number one is choosing freely. So these steps, it involves ensuring that the individual recognizes that they have freely chosen their values without undue influence from others. So are you free to choose or are you not under duress? These are the questions. Did you choose this value freely? Where do you suppose you first got that idea? Or are you the only one among your friends who feels this way? Step number two, choosing from alternatives. So these steps involves recognizing that there were various options available and understanding why a particular value was chosen over others. So these are the following questions. What reasons do you have for your choice? Or how long did you think about this problem before you decided? Step number three, choosing after thoughtful consideration. So these steps ensures that the individual has thought deeply about the consequences and benefits of their value-based choice. So what would happen if this choice were implemented? If another choice was implemented? Or what is good about this choice? What could be good about the other choices? So the third step is, are you choosing with a thoughtful consideration of the alternatives? Why are you considering one of the alternatives as your choice and not the others? Next, we have step number 4, pricing and being happy with the choice. So this step involves embracing and feeling positive about the chosen value and expressing pride and satisfaction in it. So these are the following questions. Are you happy about feeling this way? Or why is it important to you? So the fourth one is, after making a choice, are you happy with it or are you having second thoughts?
Now, let's proceed to the fifth values clarification. Number 5, prizing and willing to affirm the choice publicly. It refers to two interconnected aspects of holding a strong value. When you say prizing, this means you deeply value something and hold it in high regard. And when you say willingness to affirm the choice publicly, this signifies that you're not only confident in your value, but also comfortable openly endorsing it. like you'd be willing to discuss it with others. You are going to ask yourself a questions like, if would you be willing to tell the class how you feel, or should someone who feels like he stand up in public and tell people how he or she feels? Next is acting in choice. So in this values clarification, it refers to taking the decisions you've made about your character and using them to inform your performance. Like, for example, you're going to make your own choices. Then you're going to embody those choices. It's about using your choices to create a believable and compelling performance that resonates with the audience. You're going to ask yourself, like, what will you do about your choice? What will you do next? Or are you interested in joining this group of people who think the same as you do about this? Then lastly is acting repeatedly in some pattern of life. It refers to consistently making choices and taking actions that align with your core values. It's about living your life in a way that reflects what you truly believe, not just on a one time basis, but a habit. You're going to ask yourself, like, have you done doing it? Will you do it again? Or should you try to get other people interested in this? To discover whether or not one really values something, one may go through the process of asking and answering the seven questions. First is choosing freely. Are you free to choose? Second, are you choosing from alternatives? If there is only one option, you may not be able to really choose what you really value. Third, are you choosing with a thoughtful consideration of the alternatives? Why are you considering one of the alternatives as your choice and not the others? Fourth, after making a choice, are you happy with it or are you having second thoughts? Fifth, are you willing to let others know about your choice, affirm your choice publicly, and are happy to tell them about it? 6. Are you acting on your choice? If it is about a course in college, for example, are you going to enroll and seriously pursue it? If it is about your food, are you going to eat it? If it is about a game, are you going to play it? If it is a choice of principles or rules, are you going to follow it? Seventh, are you acting on it repeatedly? In other words, are you pursuing the course and make it as your career? Would you repeat eating the food? Would continue playing the game? Give it. Um, do you always abide by the principle you have chosen to follow? By answering these questions honestly, you gain valuable insights into your values. If you find yourself hesitant to choose freely, struggling with alternatives, or not acting on your choices, it might indicate a mismatch between what you say you value and what really matters to you. This process helps you bridge that gap and live a more authentic life that reflects your core beliefs. It's a valuable tool for self discovery and making decisions that lead to greater fulfillment. 7 questions can be summed up into three big clarifying questions. 1. Did you choose your action freely from among alternatives after thoughtfully considering the consequences of each alternative? This question focuses on the deliberation behind your choices. It asks freedom, alternatives, and thoughtful consideration. If you answer yes, it suggests you made a conscious and well informed decision based on your own reasoning and values. Next, number 2, do you prize or cherish your choice by publicly affirming it and by campaigning for others to choose it? This question delves into how much you value your choice. It asks pricing, public affirmation, and campaigning for others. If you answer yes, it suggests your choice is more than just an option. It aligns with your core beliefs and you're willing to stand by it. Number three, do you act on your choice repeatedly and consistently? This question focuses on the action aspect of your values. It asks repeated action. If you answer yes, it shows a commitment to your values. Your choices aren't just a one time thing, they translate into consistent actions that shape your life. These three questions work together to reveal your authentic values. By answering this honestly, you gain valuable insights into what truly matters to you. All of these three questions should be answered with a yes to demonstrate a strong alignment between your choices, your values, and your actions. This consistency is what leads to a more fulfilling and authentic life. One significant guide to the moral reasoning process is what ethicists like Father Gorosky, a 1974 termed as creative responsibility. When we say creative responsibility, it emphasizes that responding to moral dilemmas requires creativity and a sense of responsibility. There are four key aspects of a creative response. First is positive human action. The goal is not just to identify the problem, but to take an active step towards a solution that benefits humanity. Second is creating a response, not just reacting. It's not about simply reacting to a situation, it's about coming up with a thoughtful and innovative solution. And then third is choosing from many fitting response. There might not be a single correct answer. The key is to explore various possibilities and choose the one that best addresses the situation and aligns with your values. Fourth is constant dialogue with the community. Moral dilemmas often impact communities. This concept encourages ongoing discussion and collaboration with others to find the most effective solutions. So, why creative responsibility is important? Creative responsibility acknowledges that the world is complex and situations may require innovative approaches. It encourages you to think outside the box, be adaptable, and engage with others. This approach to moral reasoning emphasizes creativity, responsibility, and collaboration in navigating complex ethical challenges. And that brings us to the end of our presentation about reason and impartiality as minimum requirements for morality. Thank you for watching.